So what needs to happen before these coronavirus vaccines are rolled out and we all get dosed? Well, Dr. Amos Adalja is a senior scholar at Johns Hopkins Centre for Health Security. He specialises in infectious diseases and pandemic policy. Welcome to DW. Let's start with the money. Let's start with how the vaccines will be paid for. And given that the world is crying out for them, does that mean that they'll be super expensive outside this COVAX initiative because of that huge demand?
I don't think that that's going to be the case. This is a global health emergency. We have many non-governmental organizations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, like Gavi, and the COVAX. And I think that's all going to have an influence on how this is priced, because the whole world is really suffering because of this pandemic. And I do think that the bulk of the incentive is to make this as affordable a vaccine as possible. And there's going to be a lot of funds available to purchase this vaccine. And I think that we likely will see the world on a slower scale than what's happening in the developing countries get vaccinated with it. And hopefully we will eradicate this virus as a public health threat.
OK, well, that sounds very positive, and I just want to be clear about what it is you're saying there. So, when you talk about the price there, are you talking about the price that countries pay the pharmaceutical companies, or the price at which it is passed on to consumers? Because pharmaceutical companies, of course, not known for their charitable instincts.
I think what we're going to see is probably very little out-of-pocket cost to the person getting vaccinated. It may be that governments strike deals with these non-governmental organizations, with the WHO and their stockpiling their apparatus. There's going to be ways to get this vaccine into people. I think we've seen, for example, with the Ebola outbreak that happened in the DRC, the Merck vaccine was effectively rolled out without real concern regarding the cost. So I do think that this is something that will likely happen because of all of these non-governmental organizations that have a vested interest or a mission to actually get this vaccine into the arms of the world's citizens.
OK, that's great. Let's talk about certification, because, again, the whole world is looking for this. So does that mean that the whole world, each jurisdiction, has to certify individually each drug? Or might some look to the actions of bodies like America's Food and Drug Administration or the EU Medicines Agency, and then if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us?
For many countries, they do rely on what the FDA, what the EMA, and what the United Kingdom equivalent actually evaluates a drug or a vaccine, and that's enough. And there's also a process called WHO pre-qualification, where the WHO can also have a regulatory role by looking at the data, looking at what other regulatory agencies in some of the developed countries have done, and then make something pre-qualified by the WHO standard, which then allows many of these other countries who don't have a robust regulatory regime to be able to administer this. That's likely what will happen, is that you'll see the FDA, the EMA, and the UK version weigh in. A WHO pre-qualification will be issued, and then they will start to distribute this to many countries who don't do their own regulatory evaluation of these products.
Right. And what are another extraordinary thing about this whole process is that billions of these doses are paid for and manufactured before they're even approved.
That's something that we did this pandemic deliberately, because we knew that we could not wait, that this was a public health emergency, and we did not want to wait to scale up. And this was a major financial risk. So, for example, in the United States, we have something called Operation Warp Speed, where they started to manufacture these vaccines before they've been approved. That's so that there was no time wasted. As soon as an approval is given, that this vaccine can ship within 48 hours to people and get into the arms of Americans. And I think the same type of apparatus is in place in many other parts of the world, because we don't want to wait. Every day we wait, people die. The pandemic takes a toll. So the quicker we can get this vaccine into people, the quicker this pandemic is behind us.
I'm thinking about the logistical nightmare of distributing these drugs across massive countries like India or China. Those must be really quite huge problems.
Yes, the distribution of this vaccine is going to be one of the hardest challenges public health has ever faced. We've never really done anything like this. If you look at the smallpox eradication campaign, or even 2009 H1N1, I think it really pales in comparison to the task ahead of us, especially as some of these vaccines have extreme cold requirements, like the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which needs to be kept -70, -80 centigrade. That's going to be very hard to do in the developing world, where they have problems with normal access to electricity. So this is going to be a really Herculean task, and it's going to take some time for the entire world to be vaccinated, well into 2021, maybe to 2022, for the world to be kind of rid of this virus as a public health threat. And it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of coordination, and we should expect that there's going to be hiccups and setbacks as we try to distribute this vaccine to the world's population.
And it's odd to think that as we all wait for this, not everyone is going to want to take this vaccine.
Yes, there is a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and there's an anti-vaccine movement that's already started to attack this vaccine before it's been approved. There's all kinds of lies about it putting microchips into your body that have already been circulating. So we are going to be proactive with this vaccine. We're going to have to be transparent about the safety, the efficacy, the side effect profile, how the clinical trials were done, what we know, what we don't know. All of that has to be really, really transparent, as well as the prioritization, because countries are going to prioritize who gets this vaccine first, likely healthcare workers, high-risk individuals. All of that has to be out there, and we have to not be on the defensive when the anti-vaccine forces kind of amount against this vaccine. We have to be very proactive and talk to people about what the value of this vaccine is and hope that we get a high vaccine uptake, because if we don't get this vaccine into people, we will still be in the same situation that we're in today.
Right. Good talking to you. Thank you. That was great. Dr. Amish Adalja from Johns Hopkins Centre for Health Security.
Thank you.